Hey friends, and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk to you about some zero waste swaps that you only have to do once, but also actually make a really big impact. Particularly the first two, but after the first two I will be sharing some other little ones that definitely make an impact, especially to do with behavior design and habits and things like that. So today I wanted to go a little bit more in depth in some swaps that I have talked about before and how and why they actually make a huge difference. So even though these are individual actions, particularly the first two do have the ability to dismantle the power that a lot of industries actually have. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe so that you never miss another video in my climate positive sort of series. And also grab a cup of tea or coffee, or if it's a really hot day, grab an iced coffee. So the first one to consider, which is a massive individual action that can have a huge ripple effect, is to change your bank. And I know I've mentioned this before, but I wanted to go into much more detail as to what banks actually do with our money and why it's so important that we could be unwittingly actually investing in things like fossil fuels. So what is the problem with big banks? Well, since 2016, they've invested over $3.8 trillion in fossil fuels. And fossil fuel funding is actually on the rise, which is terrifying. They also charge us outrageous fees, which inevitably hurt those on lower incomes the most. So what happens to the money that sits in your bank? When you deposit your money into a bank, it doesn't actually sit there. Banks are allowed to use 100% of your deposits for investing and lending. This means that banks can and do use your money to invest in fossil fuels, political lobbying, private prisons, and gun manufacturing, to name a few. So just consider in the next political election, you vote for the party that you think is going to do the most good in the world, has the most green incentives, but your money is actually sitting in a bank that invests in fossil fuels, but also in political lobbying for a different party. Those are things that we have to really consider, because where our money is and how it's being used can be either in direct alignment with our values or in complete contradiction. So just one alternative that I found actually last year is aspiration. So for my American viewers, this is definitely one for you to consider. And they have kindly sponsored today's video, so a big thank you to them. What's different about Aspiration is that they're not a bank, but a financial firm. And their spend and save account allows customers to both make money and a difference. They're also a B Corp, which I think is a massive step forward in the sort of financial world. And if you're not sure what a B Corp is, this is what it is. Certified B Corporations are businesses that meet the highest standards of verified social and environmental performance, public transparency and legal accountability to balance profit and purpose. B Corps are accelerating a global culture shift to redefine success in business and build a more inclusive and sustainable economy. The B Corp community works towards reducing inequality, lower levels of poverty, a healthier environment, stronger communities, and the creation of more high-quality jobs with dignity and purpose. Another thing that I also want to highlight, of course, is that Aspiration are a 1% for the planet, or they also donate 10% of their profits, which are the only financial firm to do so. And considering how much money the financial industry makes, it's incredibly important that they give back. Your deposits will never be used to fund any harmful industries or fossil fuels, tobacco, gambling, those kinds of things. And there are no predatory fees either, which again always hurt those on lower incomes who have to borrow more money if they have to go into their overdraft, and then they have those fees racking up. It creates this cycle of poverty that is incredibly hard to break. So to have a financial firm not have those fees, that's a big win. Also, a nice little detail is that the Aspiration Plus card is actually made from recycled ocean plastic. So if you would like to learn more, join aspiration.com/Immy to start making a positive impact on the planet today. So let's talk about the second one, which is equally as important but might be terribly boring. But your pension also might be funding climate change. But don't worry, guys, there are several things that you can do. Of course, the first swap is to actually just simply change your pension, and it's much easier than pension companies will have you believe. And of course, if you do have several ones, you can consolidate them all into one pension, which, to be honest, in nowadays lots of people are changing careers, especially in the UK. I know when you leave uni, sometimes you'll have one job for a year and then you'll move to the next job and then you'll move to the next job. It's very rare actually for people to stay in the same job for many years. So you could have been auto-enrolled. I think it was 2015 or 2016 when auto-enrollment became a thing in the UK, so you had to opt out rather than opting into a pension. So you might be enrolled in many different pensions that you're not sure, but there are plenty of tools out there, especially in the UK, to actually find where all of your pensions are and consolidate them. To find an ethical pension, you'll need to do some research. Simple things of, search engineering is to simply say top ethical pensions for 2021, things like that. Or Ethical Consumer magazine is a really great place. Or some of your big, people that you follow might also have done that research for you and can share with you. For example, one of the reasons again that I'm, very interested in aspiration is because people that I trust like Janu and Green Girl Leah and Patagonia and people like that have all done their own research and endorsed this financial firm. So if we're looking at pensions, for example, there are so many great articles at the moment talking about which ones are ethical and which ones aren't. And of course, I'll put some links to those in the description below. Another really great campaign that is happening is called Make Your Money Matter, which is a UK-based campaign, because I think it's about £2.6 trillion of UK money is already investing. When I say UK, I mean our money in the UK is already invested into harmful industries like fossil fuels and arms and tobacco and things like that. And Make Your Money Matter is a campaign to not just greenify our pensions, but to ensure that all pension funds divest their money from investing in harmful industries and move to a greener future. So it's not just our everyday money that we're thinking about, it's our thinking about our money for our future. And we want to invest in companies that are going to actually be sustainable, because the riskier they are, the less economic sense it makes. So again, much like your bank, where your money sits, although it's not actually sitting there, makes a huge impact on which industries thrive and which industries are put on the back burner. A really great quote that I found from Make My Money Matter about pensions is this: if you have a pension, you have power. So much power that moving to a more sustainable fund can have many times more impact in reducing your carbon footprint than giving up flying and becoming a vegan combined. That's because pension funds invest money on our behalf, often into companies that do harm, supply chains that are unsustainable, and industries that accelerate climate change. When people find out they're accidental investors in these companies, they're often horrified to know where their money is actually going. It's undermining the day-to-day choices and contradicting their values. So vegans, like me, may be investing in the meat industry, medics in tobacco, and climate activists in the worst behaving fossil fuel companies. But it doesn't have to be this way. And as I mentioned earlier, it does make economic sense from what I've read. Of course, I'm not a financial advisor, but from doing research, because trying to invest in companies that are trying to create a better world are clearly going to be more sustainable, because those industries that are riskier will face a future of increased consumer criticism, government regulation, and financial penalties. So if you haven't opened a pension yet, I really suggest doing your research before you do so. If you're starting at a new company, then please talk to your financial department or your HR department and try and talk to them about what your options are about enrolling in a pension and whether they can do it for you, your personal one instead. When I worked at my previous few jobs, I was always given the option, and so I think that it's quite standard in the UK that you can, just because also, again, as I said before, lots of people move companies quite frequently, so you should be able to just have your money from your work go straight into that pension. So it's definitely worth talking and figuring out how to move your pension to a more sustainable one and making sure your employers are contributing to your personal one. The last one is a much less serious one, but it's just kind of practical, and is to create subscriptions for your most used products and essentially automate those habits for you. This is a classic behavior design move, because by automating our habits, it means we're less thinking about it, less choice. We've just made that automatic. It's a one-time swap to do, and you're also putting your money into companies, again, that you want to support. And why I think subscriptions are really great is because there are some things that we use every day or every month, every week, that we actually genuinely need. So for example, I have my washing tabs and my dishwasher tabs sent to my door using Smol. They are plastic free, they're a B Corp, they're also vegan and cruelty free, and they're also budget friendly. So they turns out to be about 19p a load for washing your clothes, which tends to be very similar to the kind of stuff that I was buying in the shop anyway. I think also when we're thinking about subscriptions, again, it has to be what makes sense for you. So in the UK, I only use UK companies because if they're going to be traveling, you want them to know that, one, you don't want them to travel too far. Are they going to be a carbon neutral shipping method? And are they actually caring to make sure that if you are buying a subscription, that you get some kind of assurance that they're doing it in the most sustainable way possible. Of course, there are lots of other one-time swaps, but they are just completely dependent on what you have and what you have accessible to you. I think the first two are so important because they make the biggest difference in terms of a really easy and simple and, well, maybe not completely simple, but one-time swap. And then other things that are practical, for example, if you have a garden, setting up an outdoor composting system, one for your food and one for your garden waste, that can be a really great sort of swap over time. And then also if you want to get a water butt, you can upcycle an old barrel, which is what my parents have done, and that's just a one-time installation, and then anytime it rains, that water will get funneled into that butt and and then you can reuse that water throughout your whole garden, and you're recycling that water as a one-time swap. So there are lots of other things that we can do as one time, but it just depends on how much time, how much effort, how much energy you have to put into those things, which is why I put so much emphasis on where our money sits and what we do with it. Okay, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you are looking for some UK-based banks, again, just check out the links in the description below. But for my American followers, I really do suggest Aspiration. I've already got my boyfriend switching to them, and any of my American friends, I always tell them to switch as well. It's one of the best things that we can do as individuals to essentially defund the most harmful industries in the world. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you did like it, please give it a thumbs up and let me know in the comments if you like these kinds of videos and would like to see more of them. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.